Well, it is a Tuesday morning here in the Philippines. It's a bit overcast. It's been overcast for about the last 24 hours, which it's kind of a bummer. Not as encouraging as waking up to a bright sunny day. Let's see, it's about 7:30 in the morning. I've been awake since about 6 a.m. The dogs, their usual routine, got to let them out and do their business and bring them back in, and then they start playing too much and making a lot of noise, put them back out again. Although one of them's here, I don't know if you can hear it, but Baxter's chewing on a really big soup bone. From yesterday, I made a really great beef broth, and which is good because I'm getting over the flu. V is in the middle of it. In fact, she's in the other room sleeping. And yeah, man, I gotta say, I mean, it's only 7:30 in the morning, and I have I don't know what you want to call it, just a a mixture of emotions or mental states. Part of it is like, how you have a really intense dream. As far as you're concerned, that's your real life. And then you wake up and you have to adjust to, oh, okay, that wasn't real. Pretty sure this is real. Reminds me of something I read a long time ago. And it's by one of the philosophers. I forget who it was. But they said something like, when a man dreams that he is a butterfly, and this was like going way back to high school, and I pondered this a lot before I figured it out. But it was if a man dreams that he is a butterfly, how does he know he's not a butterfly dreaming that he's a man? And I thought about it literally for years. I pondered it, and I was like, well, how do you know? And then finally I figured it out. It's the common denominator. It's the man, or me. One night I dream, I'm a hitman. The next day I dream I'm back at this place in China that I've never been to. And then the next night, every night it's a different dream. And the only common denominator is me. So there's the answer to that question. Although then my other question was, how do I know? Because I had a buddy of mine. In fact, he was a close friend of mine, very instrumental in me getting my career. And we carpooled for about 2 years. And then he ended up, getting a brand new, I think it was a Camaro. And Camaro or Corvette. I'm almost sure it was a Camaro, white one, pretty sure. Anyways, it's been a long time. And yeah, he got hit by a semi-truck on a highway, and it didn't kill him, but it put him into a coma for like 2-3 years. And he came out of it. And of course he had to go through rehab, learn how to walk all over again, stuff like that. And got to where he was out and about, moving around, and then passed away from pneumonia about 2.5 years after he came out of the coma. But after that whole incident, I started thinking a different question along the lines of the butterfly dream, which was, how do I know that this life, where I wake up every day and I do different stuff, or maybe I only think I'm doing different stuff, maybe it's a Groundhog Day kind of thing, and I'm not aware of it. But anyways, how do I know I'm just really not laying in a hospital bed in a coma somewhere? Just living a simulated life in my head to pass the time. But all it takes is for me to stub my toe or, take a hot sip of coffee and it burns my tongue, and I'm like, nah, this is pretty real. This is about as real as it gets. Besides, if I was going to live an alternate life in a dream, I'd probably be, I don't know, doing something fantastical. I don't know, like running from Godzilla or, some really out there. So, anyways, so there's that. I woke up this morning around 6, did the usual routine with the dogs. I let V get some sleep. She's still sleeping. I have to run some errands today, which I really don't want to do driving in the rain. I could take a tricycle, but then I don't have the flexibility I would have on my motorbike. So there's that. And then that's attached to a horrific video I saw last night. In the Philippines, some people just minding their own business, just standing on the sidewalk, getting ready to get into a jeepney. Next thing you know, some car hit that jeepney so hard, it flipped the jeepney over onto its side. And it was full of people. That's how bad it was. That's how hard it got hit. And, the person that had just climbed and settled into the front seat ended up under the jeepney. And it makes you think about just how precarious life is, no matter where you are, what country. Although if you're in a country that, not everybody is the good driver they could be if they had a bit more, required education on how to drive, and had the money to maintain the brakes on their vehicle, maybe there would be less accidents. V's was the one who sent me, my wife, she's the one who sent me the video. And we usually talk about stuff, that, shorts will send each other and stuff. And that one, she goes, well, it was just their time. It was their final destination, like the movie. That movie really made an impact on her. I think she's seen every single one of them. It is a pretty intense kind of movie. If you've never seen them, Final Destination, you probably have. Now what does the dog want now? Yeah, Baxter. Yeah, he just checks on me every once in a while. Making sure I'm okay. I guess he knows that I'm getting over the flu. I don't know, but he checks on me anyway. So there's that, the precariousness of life where, whether we want to look at it or admit it, our life hangs by a thread every single day. It really does. I've understood that, since I read this book, and I've talked about this book before. In fact, a friend of mine, Michael, he actually went out and ordered and read the book on my recommendation. But it's called PDA, and it's not Public Displays of Affection. It's Personal Death Awareness. And I read it when I was 17. I just stumbled onto it. I used to spend a lot of time, guys, since I was like 12. There was no internet, so I spent all my time at the library. I love the library, man. I could just live in the library, just reading books. And a book that I stumbled on was this one, yellow cover, I believe, PDA, Personal Death Awareness. And it is what you think it is. It's just coming to grips with looking at the inevitable, which most people don't want to do. When it comes to the idea of our own mortality, they want to just kind of ignore it, pretend that if they ignore it, it won't happen. But the reality is, life just hangs by a thread. And, you wake up in the morning, there's no guarantee you're going to lay down in your bed that night. None. So, you might think, oh, well, what's the point in reading a book like that? Well, the point is, when you actually resign yourself to accepting your mortality, and that really it could happen at any time, it makes you appreciate today. It makes you appreciate all that you might lose. Well, all that you eventually will lose. In fact, just the other night, I was laying in bed, falling asleep, and I was thinking to myself, what if right now I was dying? When I fall asleep, I'm just not going to wake up. This is it, kind of like a dress rehearsal, for the future. And I thought, what would be my thoughts? Oh, he's dropping the soup bone. And I just kind of put myself in that place, and I thought to myself, well, when it comes to all my possessions, my money, my objects that I have purchased over the years, things that I use, which is mostly, as far as I'm concerned, mostly it's just clothes and some computer gear. I thought, I'm not taking that with me. I guess, the same thing will happen like usually happens. It ends up at the secondhand store or handed out to relatives if they got time to deal with it, or gets all stuffed in a box that doesn't get discovered again for another 25, 30 years when the house is sold, whatever. But then I thought, I'm not even going to take my body with me. The physical body that I've been walking around in this 3D world for 63 years, I'm not even taking that with me. So, anyways, back to the book, Personal Death Awareness. Like I said, that book made a real impact on me since I was 17, and here I am all these years later, and I appreciate every single day. I really do. I was thinking about it the other day, and somebody told me, oh, I'm just bored here. I got to go to Thailand. I got to go somewhere else. I'm bored. And after, listening to this person, I later thought to myself, okay, when was the last time I was bored? And I went back like a year, 5 years, 10 years. Heck, I went all the way back to like when I was 9 years old. I don't think I even know what boredom is. I understand the concept, but it's like trying to imagine non-movement when you've been moving all your life. To me, if they're, like let's take what would ordinarily be a boring situation that would force boredom on you. Let's say that you go to the dentist and they tell you, okay, take a seat in the waiting room. We'll call you in about 45 minutes or less. And then they come out after 20 minutes and they go, well, the dentist has an emergency going on. You can wait. It's going to take at least another hour to 2 hours, or you can reschedule. And I decide, well, I'm already here. I'll just wait. Even if it takes 2.5 hours, I will wait. And so there I am, sitting in the dental office along with a couple other people, and they are bored out of their skull because there's not many magazines to read, and they're usually not the kind of magazines you'd ever take time to read. Highlights magazine, which is some kind of Boy Scout kind of thing. I don't know. It's for kids. Why do they pick glamour magazines? I mean, really. It's like, what do I care about glamour and how to put on the right foundation and makeup? I don't care about that. Why do they get those subscriptions for the waiting room? Anyways, but for that kind of situation, for me, I would not be bored because it's like there's always something going on in my head. I'm always thinking, I'm always pondering something out. I'm always remembering something from the past or imagining how I'm going to get something done in the future. I cannot think of a time in my life that I was bored, where I just was unhappy with my circumstances and said, oh, it's the fault of my surroundings that I'm bored. No, there's always something. That was something I learned from my grandma and my mom. They both said, there's always something to do. Now, they meant it in the context of, if you got nothing to do, there's plenty of yard work to do outside. You got nothing to do? Here, you can do these dishes. That's the context they meant it in. But it's true, for me anyway, there's always something to do because there's always something to think about. It's kind of like, the way I see my existence is that one of the amenities of being a human is that no matter where you go, you could be trapped in a solitary jail cell. You still have the theater of your mind. You still have your mind to ponder things out, to remember things, to, reconsider ideas. So when I hear sometimes expats and, they just go, well, I just moved to Dumaguete, or I just moved to Cebu, I just moved to Iloilo, or I just moved to Thailand, I just moved to Vietnam, and it's 2 months, I'm bored, there's nothing to do here. Especially when guys tell me, I've been 2 weeks in Dumaguete, there's nothing to do here. I'm like, nothing to do? It's like, come on, get off your butt. Don't just sit there on the boardwalk on a bar stool. Rent out a motorbike, ride out into Valencia. There's beautiful country out there. There's Ocean 24. I have so many fantastic memories going out to Ocean 24, spending the whole day with this or that Filipina, and, swimming and barbecuing, or going out to Forest Camp, or going out to the hot springs, going to the waterfall, or just riding around, being up there in the hills and going, well, where does that road go? Well, I'll just take that road and go up the hill and get a fantastic view. And it's not like I'm going to get lost. I just turn around and take the same road back down. Or going out to Dowie's, which is south of Dumaguete. Man, there's got to be at least a dozen, maybe 24 resorts. I made it a point, every couple of weeks I'd pick another resort and, ask them, hey, how much is your day, your day pass? Usually it was like 200, 300 pesos, which is like less than $6. And for less than $6, part of it consumable, I could just spend the whole day at the resort, swimming in the pool, lounging on the lounge chairs, thinking about stuff, listening to the ocean, swimming in the ocean, and then just, shuffle on over to the outdoor cafe and get some really good food, So, I just don't get it when guys say, I went here, there, and there's nothing to do. I'm like, come on, man, put some effort in, So, got other stuff on my mind. I've got a longtime friend from that I've, we were really close in high school, and then over the years, of course, they went to go do their thing, and I did my thing, and, now they're the same age I am, but struggling. I won't go into all the details, but it's heartbreaking for me to not only see that after all these years, they find themselves in a tough spot, but there's not much I can do about it. That's the thing. If I could fix it, that would be awesome, but I can't. And I don't know that anyone can, really. So it's, it's one of those deals. It's like a catch-22 kind of a thing. So there's that, and it's only 7:30 in the morning, like I said, and I've already got all this on my plate. So I don't know. Something that I have said for years is everyone has to find their own path. What works great for me is not going to work for a lot of other people. Like me living out here in the Philippines for the last 13 years. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I definitely have not been bored. It's been a full-blown adventure. Even the difficult stuff. It's like, wow, man, I survived that. I did this. I went there. Man, I can't even imagine my life having that part of my life removed. It's been amazing. And it still is. I'm happily married with my wife, and we have a very peaceful, enjoyable life. We do a lot of good cooking. We got our 2 nitwit dogs, to keep us company, keep us laughing. We have a great life. We really enjoy each other's company and support each other, and, life is good. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to make my morning hot cocoa, which it's a bit more than cocoa. It's, no, it's not rum. It's cocoa with coconut cream, a little bit of stevia. I put in creatine. I have this Ceylon cinnamon. I'm telling you, you have never had cinnamon until you've had Ceylon cinnamon, Ceylon. That stuff is the good stuff. I bought it online. So I put a little bit of that. And this is like things I picked specifically because they help with maintaining your blood pressure and lowering your glucose and all that kind of stuff. The cocoa has polyphenols, and so I put, the coconut cream, I put the stevia because it doesn't affect blood glucose, I put the creatine, I put the Ceylon cinnamon, I put about half a stick of butter. That really makes it taste nice. And I know I'm forgetting, the oils. Yeah, I put in MCT oil. I put in, now sometimes I'll put in coconut oil, but really MCT oil is the best you're going to get. And then I put in, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. The good stuff, the stuff that's just way too expensive. I'd rather spend money on the good stuff. And then I whip it in the blender and, get it nice and hot. Oh, I also have the ceremonial cocoa. It's like the dark chocolate, unsweetened cocoa. So I put it all in the blender with hot water, and that's how I start my day. I basically gave up coffee again here like 2 weeks ago, which I've only quit coffee twice in my life. Morning coffee is fantastic, but I'm trying to cut down anything that stresses my body and causes any kind of a cortisol spike. I just want to try and maintain my metabolism as best as possible for the long run. And so I'm going to have my cocoa, take my hot shower, get on the motorbike and do my errands. Maybe I'll treat myself to a breakfast burrito. I know a place. I think it's called Dos Gringos or Two Gringos. Yeah, I think it's called Two Gringos. It's there on the main middle road out to Panglao. And they got some pretty good Tex-Mex food there. Last time I tried out a restaurant called Mooney Mooney, which I had heard a lot about. Great atmosphere, pretty good food, a little pricey. I don't know that I'll be back anytime soon, but it was a good experience. But I'm kind of in the mood for getting some errands done and then sitting down, having a nice big chile verde burrito, breakfast burrito maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 chicken tacos, and then come back home and just sort of, take the rest of the day off maybe, goof around with the dogs. I have actually, in the last 2 weeks, been trying to distance myself from, I guess you could call it time with gadgets, because I got in the habit of like putting my cell phone and listening, on the kitchen table. And while I had breakfast, I would, which is usually 3 eggs, some meat, like an omelet kind of thing. And I would listen to YouTube, news about, investing in crypto and whatever while I was eating. And then while I was shaving, same thing. Listen to what now is the latest news on crypto and world events and all that. But just always, busy. And then even going to bed with my earphones on and when I'm ready to sleep, just listening to an audio book, which it's a good habit, but not all the time, I started listening to Marcus Aurelius meditations, and I still got to finish that because I fell asleep. And I think I've heard just about every original Alan Watts recording that's in existence over the last year. But now I find myself trying to purposely detach, just having my breakfast, no phone, just, not checking PMs, just enjoy my breakfast and listen to whatever relaxing music V put on the Alexa. And then going out and sitting out on the front patio, again, without my phone. Just sit there, before the mosquitoes come out and just enjoy the good weather, the fantastic view out here in the province. Just experiencing life without, vlogging it and without being distracted with someone else vlogging their life. Just kind of, I'm not ready to go 100% no tech, but I don't know. I think most of us could use a rebalance, a retuning, and just kind of like put the phone down, I heard a phrase a while back. It was, I want to say it was Alan Watts, but it might have been another person talking about meditation and the purpose of meditation, which was really informative. But he called it fasting for the mind. Fasting like when you don't eat, physically. But he said, meditation, you could call it fasting for the mind. Just shutting out all the, extracurricular noise from externally, but then shutting down all of the internal chatter that comes out of your head, which for me is a real challenge. I mean, as soon as I get even half a second into, nothing, I'm like, oh, I'm doing pretty good with this. It's like, damn it, now I'm thinking again. Okay, gotta stop thinking. Oh, I'm still thinking. Okay, stop thinking. And so, but, it's good. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life thinking of nothing, but it is a nice break. Just like it's kind of good to just go from, daily life, go from living 3 meals to living, having 2 meals a day. It's good, like they say, less is more sometimes. And I think less chatter in the head, less, noise to keep me occupied. There's plenty going on. Just sitting and, like people watching is one of my favorite things. Just sit somewhere in a public place and watch people go by and ask myself, where's this person coming from? If this person is 25 years old, if we went backwards and rewound their life, where were they when they were, 8 years old, 10 years old, 14 years old? What was it? It's like there's probably a movie could probably be made about every single person's life with the ups and the downs and the hopes and dreams and disappointments and challenges. And where's that person going? Is that person going to be alive when they go around the corner 20 minutes later? Most likely, yes. But, kind of like that movie, Meet Joe Black. Brad Pitt, meets this woman there at the coffee cafe, and then one goes one way, the other goes the other way, and then she leaves, goes around the corner, and next thing you know, Brad Pitt's being bounced around like a ping pong ball in traffic and gets totally destroyed. Of course, anyways, you have to see the movie to realize that's at the very beginning. Anyways, so, yeah. Another day, another beautiful day, despite the overcast. I'm just going to kind of enjoy it as it comes and be thankful.